Perimenopause is an invitation to start something new. Even amidst the uncertainty and discomfort, it's a time for new beginnings. Welcome to the Thrive in Perimenopause Summit, and this is your host, Sonal Singhal. This summit is brought to you with the intention to support women seeking a different conversation that will positively change the course of their menopause journey. I have with me our guest speaker, Debbie Beling, who is empowering women to take control of their wellness, giving them the tools and guidance to navigate their way through their peri and post-menopausal years. So welcome, Debbie. And I noted that you have a Facebook community under name All About Menopause.
Yes, that's correct.
And I found it as a great place for women to learn and share knowledge to improve symptoms. Also, wellness and well-being through peri to post-menopause. I wonder what is behind your passion for helping peri and post-menopausal women?
Well, I mean, there's a long story and a short story, but I started in this field 10 years ago, and through my experience, I was working with lots of women who were coming to me with various different problems, and as I've kind of gone through the stages, so have my clients. So you know, it's always sort of been there, this kind of experience of working with women and helping them through their issues, anything from, you know, pre and post pregnancy all the way up to peri to post menopause, which is where, you know, it's where I am now myself. And so I'm faced with a lot of questions from women that I work with that also come to me to help with their answers.
Mm-hmm. So what is your background? Why people were approaching you? Why women were approaching you?
Okay, so I started out as a personal trainer 10 years ago, and I started working in a gym. I then you know, found that I was getting women coming to me asking me about diastasis and other pelvic health concerns, and I was, at the time I was like, oh, you know, well, I don't know, but let me go and find out. And so through that I've kind of developed a learning and a yearning to, you know, help and guide women through the issues that they face. So it's through my initial personal training experience that I was starting to meet clients. I then started out outside of the gym and ran a fitness program for many years, really successfully, and through that just sort of gained momentum. And so that's how it started for me.
So I wonder, like, are you yourself a perimenopausal woman?
I am indeed. I'm 52. I have 2 teenage children in the mix, and of both boys, and yes, I am also experiencing, you know, some of those challenges, but more recently I've tackled I've really kind of pulled together my knowledge to kind of work on myself, and actually I've come out away with some really positive results, and so yeah, there will be some more programming from me, you know, coming in the coming months that focuses on those things that I've been doing, but essentially, you know, over 12 weeks at the start I was having things like fatigue, couldn't get through the day without a little afternoon nap, and I, you know, the tummy weight gain, hot flushes, which have been quite intense the last you know, last few months leading up, and so now I'm in a much better position. I've been able to get some weight down, 13 pounds so far, and just feeling better with more energy. The fatigue is, you know, all but, you know, disappeared. Hot flushes, I still have a few of those, so I'm still working on tweaking that, but ultimately, yeah, my own experience is guiding you know, some of the recommendations that I put forward.
So I wonder, like, what has helped you to calm down those symptoms that you were experiencing or that you are experiencing?
Yeah, so there's the trio of things. I think we need to get on top of managing stress. We also need to make sure that our nutrition is supporting our body. So, you know, nutrient dense, as opposed to, you know, we don't want to be restricting anything at this stage in our life. We need the nutrients for our bodies, liver, adrenals, to, you know, to be producing the hormones that we're not getting now from the, you know, from our ovaries. So nutrition is super important, and exercise. All different types of exercise can actually trigger other hormones in our body to kind of deliver the same results that that we're looking for example HGH and testosterone. So and those are the things that, you know, I can talk some more about to you today.
So what about those? I mean, how can exercising help in balancing those hormones which you're talking about and help
Okay.
us relieving the symptoms we are experiencing?
Okay, so first of all, if we start with stress, some types of exercise are a stress to the body, and obviously we just need to be mindful of that. But ultimately, exercise will produce endorphins that help us, make us, you know, feel better. So in terms of managing stress, things like restorative walks, some yoga, Pilates, anything that's, you know, sort of upregulating the nervous system to help us sort of start to relax and sort of feel, you know, feel better about whatever's going on. And I find, for me, so I've been adding an hour's walk into my routine every day. Now, I know some people don't have time for that, but it is okay just to have that broken up into, you know, different parts wherever's relevant. But a nice restorative walk will, and a mindful walk even in nature, will help to just bring the senses in and calm the nervous system. So that's one place to start. But then also in terms of stimulating the hormones like HGH, let's start with that one, human growth hormone. It's something that declines with age, as does most other things, unfortunately. But human growth hormone, it's released in the pituitary glands, and it's like our youthful hormone. It helps to make us feel good. Things like, we can tell that we're losing HGH through some skin changes, maybe some graying hair, vision issues, muscle problems. So, you know, those are kind of clues as to, you know, where our HGH is, but we can stimulate that through exercise. And it needs to be some quite intense exercise, but just for a very short period of time. So we want to get hot, sweaty, out of breath. We want to feel a burn, and that kind of work will get that hormone you know, going. Also, in line with that, we need to be sleeping well. So in the first hour of sleep, or after the first hour of sleep, when we go into some deep REM, we will also stimulate the greatest release of HGH. So our sleep is super important too. But if we're exercising well, we should be able to improve our sleep, because sleep is another one of those you know, elements that tends to kind of go. My sleep was pretty bad. Beginning of this year, I was having maybe an hour's sleep, waking, maybe then 2 hours and waking, like throughout the night, and it's really disturbing. And now now I've got it back to, we got 6 to 7 hours straight, and I just, you know, the work that I've done around that is largely exercise. I did too much to start with, so too much exercise can also give you symptoms of overtraining and can contribute to fatigue. So we don't want to do too much, but it's just really working out that fine balance, what your body needs. So now for me, I do 3 intense workouts a week, and they are literally no more than sort of 15-20 minutes max. So, you know, nice and short and just about enough. Because the other thing we've got to consider is that many women in this phase will not feel like exercise. And exercise can be a bit of a turn off. We just don't feel like doing it. And I was exactly the same, didn't feel like doing it, but I was like, right, you know, I'm doing this to kind of really prove that what we're talking about is actually working, does actually work for people. And actually, once I got started and got into a rhythm, oh my God, you can't stop me now. It's literally, it's part of my journey, it's part of my plan. And if I don't do it, I find another time to do it. The important thing is not to beat yourself up about, you know, not getting something done, because that's just putting more cortisol up into our system. So we do need to be sort of careful about our self-talk and yeah, the messages that we're giving ourselves.
So would you like to share some specific exercising? I mean, if you can demonstrate something that we can, I mean, even if somebody is sitting in their office, they can do and to help, I mean, to get some relief.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing I'm always talking about is, you know, obviously if if we were sitting down at a desk all day, that is the first thing to kind of look at changing. So to stand up regularly, to walk around, and if you can get a stand-up desk, or, you know, just have a space. And I know a lot of people are working from home now, so if they are working, then, you know, they've got a little bit more flexibility. But yeah, stand up at your desk, keep yourself moving on regular periods, and some breathing exercises, just some simple breathing exercises, and there are many out there, but I practice the sit breath and the 4-7-8 breath. So the sit breath is where you are inhaling through the nose for, you know, count of 4 or 8. It doesn't really matter, it's just as long as you can. And then that last bit where you feel like you've brought in as much air in as you can, you just do a sit breath. So it goes something like this. And then release. So there's like a little sharp intake of breath at the last part of that inhale, and then release. And you do that about five times or more, then that helps to bring the nervous system down, you know, calm the nervous system. So inhale. And then at the last bit, just like a real kind of last little sniff, if you like, and then exhale. You can exhale through the nose or through the mouth, and that's called the sit breath. And it's a very calming way of just bringing things back. The other one was a 4-7-8 breath, so it's a little bit more. So you're inhaling for 4, you hold your breath for 7, and then you exhale for 8. Do you want to give that a go? Okay, so inhale, hold, and release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you repeat that. So it's a good way of just coming back to you, focusing on something. It helps to clear the mind, and don't worry if there's like things that, you know, go through the mind. That's normal, but just try and bring it back to the breath. And you only need to spend a few minutes just doing that, and that just help sort of calm the nervous system. So, you know, that's if you're at work, you're sitting, you maybe getting a little bit stressed about something, just standing up regularly, drinking water as well. Like hydration is super important anyway, but many of us don't get enough, and we really want to be optimal with that, because that will help send the good nutrients around the body and deliver to the tissues. So hydration and just some calming breaths, you know, throughout the day, really. But then in terms of exercises, I would really, generically, we could talk about just doing different movements, different body movements that work all parts of the body. But it really does depend on the person in front of me. So, you know, we need to understand if there are any pelvic health challenges. We need to understand if there are any, you know, any any scars, any, the background, the history of the person, so I can identify exactly, what's needed and how, how we can work together and how I can help them. So, I mean, I have a templated sheet which would give you a guide on, specific exercises that you could do to, in terms of like HGH to help stimulate that. But it's all sort of body movements, things like squats, lunges, press ups, push, pull, rotation exercises. So I can, offer that to people to download.
So Debbie, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, you're getting a lot of clients because you have been a personal trainer, and so I wonder, like, how many women you encounter and they have this pelvic floor issue. Is it common?
Many, and it is very common, but it is not normal. So pelvic health is another thing that can decline with the age. Now, if you haven't, if you've sort of gone through childbirth and been okay, when you come to perimenopause, that can be a time where, things do start to sort of, you start to lose a little bit of the control there. So what happens is collagen declines, so that's a protein that our body makes, and it helps to keep our skin looking good, and hair and nails and all of that, but it also is responsible for keeping the tissues nice and healthy, along with hydration. But that starts to decline actually in our mid-30s, and definitely by the time we get to perimenopause, we can find that things like the bladder lining can be thin, and if we're not using muscle, muscle can become, we lose the muscle tension, and so if we're not working that pelvic floor, and we do that in conjunction with the rest of the body, we integrate the pelvic floor with all our movement. It sits at the center of our body, and it should be, the main focus. It's responsible with the diaphragm for our posture, and obviously it houses all our reproductive organs and all the other, the bladder and the rectum. So it's really important for us to, be using that. But if we're not, then that can, suddenly just not work so well. So things like coughing, sneezing, laughing, if you are, having any leaking doing those types of things, then that's the time to go and see someone about it, because if we do nothing, that will only get gradually worse. So not to paint a negative picture, but there are many things that we can do to help support those with pelvic health issues, and it is really common, but yeah, like I say, it's not normal. And that's not just related to incontinence issues. We can also help with pelvic organ prolapse as well, provided it's not it's not beyond a grade 3 or more. So there are things that we can do to help.
I mean, if somebody is sitting most of the time, what do you think? I mean, it will affect their pelvic floor health?
Yeah, absolutely. And the core and posture. So what happens when we sit, depending on how we're sitting, what happens when we sit, all those muscles switch off and we're not using them. We're just not using them. And then obviously if we're in our activities, if we're not focused on, core and pelvic floor activation, it's just not being used. And then it only becomes, it comes into the mind when there's a problem. So movement is key, and then movement and integration with the pelvic floor and core is key for for good pelvic health going into post-menopause.
So do you integrate in your training about nutrition also? I mean, do you give any supplements or suggest anything?
Yeah, I mean, I take supplements, and I recommend where I see gaps in nutrition. So I do two things. I do a lifestyle analysis, which helps to identify how the body systems are coping, and will flag up where there are some deficiencies. And that's a very, that's like a 30 question.
Okay, so through questionnaire you figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. It just literally plots it for us. And yeah, then we can like very quickly identify what body systems we need to focus on to help elevate that and resolve some of those symptoms. And then in addition to that, I also may do, if needed, a nutritional deficiencies questionnaire, which really is a bit more detail. The lifestyle analysis is quicker, but this is a bit more detail, which helps to identify specific nutrients that a person may be deficient in, based on the symptoms and the answers that they are able to share with me. So where we have a really low score, or really high score in the nutritional deficiencies test, where we have a really high score, that's where I supplement. Otherwise, it will be recommending food. So at this particular time, if we we want faster results, but the larger situation tends to be that, let's just say B vitamins for an example. B vitamins are responsible for elevating energy, and can help with mood and just generally that sort of vitality that we tend to start to miss during this phase. And many women are will show up as deficient in some of those. And so we can cook a lot of the good quality vitamins and nutrients out of our foods very quickly if we're boiling, or just overcooking foods, or even to the point where we're like carcinogens on our foods, obviously destroying the quality of our foods. So there's that side to look at, but then there's also, right, so build up your nutrient profile by just cooking foods well, lightly steaming, or if you're able to, providing you don't have any thyroid issues, then raw foods is absolutely fine too. But then also, supplementing with a high quality supplement will also support that, and that's a fast way of getting those nutrients in to help restore the balance that they may be lacking.
So Debbie, I mean, I think whatever you have given is wonderful. And now it's time to check with you about the gift you are including in our VIP offer.
Okay, so that is my Holistic Core Restore Meno Wellness program. It is 7 weeks. It centers around pelvic health, pelvic and core function, and is an exercise program with additional support through all the big rocks of the issues that women are facing during peri to post menopause. So things like sleep, self-care, when we look at some self massage techniques just to help restore some better movement and functionality, and then it's like a coming together also. So there's like a community of women that are all doing the same thing in the same place, so like-minded women coming together and just working through this. So that's what we start with, 7-week program, and it really kind of covers, like I say, the big topics that people are experiencing through perimenopause and how we can navigate that.
I think that's an awesome contribution, and our audience can find out the details about it by clicking the link below this video. And I appreciate Debbie for coming to the Thrive in Perimenopause and sharing all about hormone balancing, even pelvic floor health by doing exercise. And it was great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Been great talking to you too. Thank you.